Y'all planning for this?
Welcome back to an episode of Worlds to Conquer. This is Jamie Shalansky, and today I want to dive into how does your team know what to do? In previous episodes, we've covered a lot on how to hire and fire and how to find qualified professionals. But a lot of times there's this misconception with our firm that we were able to recruit talent that already had industry experience and already had a lot of training in place prior to working with us. And the reality is, that's just not true. In fact, most of the times, we don't even hire anyone with a financial background or a financial degree. We prefer people with very little industry experience. And if I was to look for somebody that had an industry experience, I'd probably want them to have healthcare as a background as opposed to financial services. Why? We talk a lot about the similarities between healthcare and finance a lot in our office. And in fact, we even go so far as to incorporate some healthcare training instead of financial services industry training. The training content for healthcare services is superior to that of financial services. We've all taken our Web CE, our Reg ED. How many terrible PowerPoints that have no audio do we all have to sit through and click with these little mini quizzes to try to get to the end to take a test that you can just fail over and over again until you get correctly. Healthcare does it a lot better. Their videos are interactive. They start a lot with the why. There's a lot of money that goes into them. So sometimes when I'm looking for really good training, I'll step outside of financial services industry. And just like with the coaching and team development and goal setting, I'll look to another industry that's really knocking it out of the park and say, what can we learn from them? Another reason I like healthcare training is not just because of the quality of the content that they produce, but also a lot of the terminology is transferable. So they talk a lot about the HIPAA privacy laws. We translate that into the Patriot Act and our protected information laws and confidentiality agreements. And they talk about patients. We talk about clients. They talk about providers. We talk about financial planners. And so we can really adapt that with our team pretty easily. It's not so far off left field. We also tend to follow a lot of the litigation, right? A lot of the times that healthcare professionals get in trouble is because something is not documented. And in healthcare, they say if it's not documented, it is not done. If it's not documented, it is not done. And that is a motto that we use in our own office. So when it comes to the team, we would love to find people that already have these skills, but the chances are they don't. So we need to incorporate and also teach them our way of what we expect for performance out of them. The way that we do this in our office is that we conduct regular training. So instead of every month having a training session on something, we'll probably do this on a quarterly basis as needed or required. A few things that we do with our office pretty regularly is we do a professional development budget. We used to call this a conference budget, but COVID knocked that out of the park. Now we call this just a professional development budget. So each employee, regardless of their rank and status, gets the same amount of professional development funds in their PD account every single year. In 2022, it's $3,500. And with that $3,500, they can spend it on anything that improves their professional development. So this isn't a yoga membership, but it could be an Audible membership for them to download books. This could for them to audit or attend a university class. This could be for them to go to a conference. And it could be anything that would help them develop more professionally. So we've done a gamut of different things. We've done the Ritz-Carlton training. If you're looking for relationship management training, it is the number one first place I would start with. Their commitment and service to excellence is superior to that of any other program that I've ever seen. They offer it, I think, outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and we send our RMs out there, have them go through the Ritz-Carlton training. They learn the 12 standards of gold service, and they come back just really rejuvenated, and also with the skill set to anticipate unspoken desires. And that is really something that if you've ever stayed at a Ritz-Carlton, sets them a bar above none, right? Is that they can assess unspoken desires. So a client needs something, they're already on top of it, they're already jumping to that to fulfill that need and to make sure that every client feels like our only client. But we've also done other programs such as, for a little while, a couple years ago, I was watching a lot of email correspondence going in and out of my office and thinking, my God, this is just sloppy. Have we gotten gotten away from like business format, business correspondence, the more and more that things become shortened text, abbreviations, emojis, and GIFs. And don't get me wrong, my GIF game is superior to almost anyone out there except for my mom. But there's a time and place for that, and in business writing, it's not it. So a couple years ago, I found a business development class, and I had all my employees attend that, and it did nothing but talk about technical writing and business writing. Not because I wanted them to write business plans or abstracts, but because things that got lost in translation over time, such as what a salutation is, how many spaces after the salutation, when paragraphs should be indented, how come sentences matter, and we need to speak in full context, and signature lines. Just these little things that no, you're thinking in your mind, okay, people should know these already. But even if they're college graduates, they don't know how to write business professionally. So I enrolled them in this class, and afterwards they were like, wow, I'm really going back through my correspondence and I see how amateur it now comes across. Thank you so much for letting me attend this class. It really put a few things in perspective. Now, could I sit down, me, an avid lover of the English language, and go through that with all of my team? 100%. But don't ever underestimate the power of a stranger in a uniform. That my team gets me all of the time. And so when I teach them something, yes, it's meaningful, yes, it's impactful, but putting somebody else in that role, that stranger in a uniform, now lets them see how much I'm committed to investing in them. And the message comes across a little bit differently. It's a great way to use professional development funds. So when it comes to employing team members, no, they don't come to us with all of this training and skill. And no, we don't spend laborious hours sitting down going through training one-on-one with our team, but we are committed to training, right? So how do we solve this? One, right off the bat in our firm, we have a learning management system. And there I've broken it down into 3 pods. I have everything a new employee should know for our team. It's video content with written content and quizzes that they need to pass. And then I broke it down into the other 2 pods for employees. So I also have the relationship manager and the operations. Our financial advisors have a separate program because their training is a little bit different than the rest of our team members. But there they can go through every single level of training terminology, because when they start with us, they don't really know. I mean, like little things, like the difference between a customer and a client, right? A customer is a transactional person that comes in and does business with you one time. A client is somebody we want a lifetime relationship with. And do these words matter? Do they mean the same thing? No, they don't mean the same thing. And yes, words do matter. Think about what psychology teaches us about our words and why they matter so much. The words we choose are empowered to convey our thoughts and our feelings. And aside from any type of nonverbal communication, words are the heartbeat of every relationship that we establish. When we abuse and misuse our words or truncate our sentences in order to save time, we do ourselves, the people we love, and our team members an incredible dishonor by shortening those thoughts and feelings just for the safety of saving time, which in my experience, when I'm brief and don't provide clarity to my team or use full sentence or structures, then I have not saved myself any time, because they are going to come back with 1,000 questions, or worse yet, I have now put myself into the defense of having to fix things because they were done wrong. And they were done wrong because I didn't explain it right for the first time, because I couldn't stop, slow down, make sure I articulated what I wanted done, why it mattered, and what the outcome when my employee got done should look like. I didn't set the measurement of success, and therefore I didn't save myself any time, because they're still going to come back to me with a ton of questions, and they could have done it wrong from the get-go. So we do a lot of training inside the office. We have the LMS set up that we can take somebody from zero experience and give them everything that they need to know. But our training cannot end there, right? Because we've all sat down. If you've gone through online training or tutorial programs, anytime you implemented a new program, software, downloaded an app, etc., or watched something on YouTube, you know that once you get a few hours into it, it's mind-numbing. You forget all the information that's inside of there, no matter how good it is. So we break down the training, and we only let them go through certain modules at certain times, so a lot of ideas can resonate and they have time to do it. Anytime they make a mistake that was covered in a training video, part of their oral or written counseling is to go back and re-watch the training video. Now I'm not having to train 17,000 times. Now I'm assigning them the video and the content to write or to watch again, and then they write me a synopsis of what they understood, why it matters, and how they're going to do a corrective action in the future. And then now my team's empowered. And then also, if they don't understand something, really clearly, now they have the training videos to go back to and listen over and over again until they get it. And this is really helpful, right? Because sometimes, especially me, if you're listening to this at 2x on your audio, I talk really fast. So I'm probably sounding like a chipmunk in your ears right now. So I'm the type of person that you probably want to have me at 1.5 speed because I'm already going to talk fast for you. And when I'm talking fast, I'm looking at you and I'm shaking my head and I want to make sure you get these ideas and you're telling me yes because I'm just coming at you rapid fire. So afterwards I say, great, here's these videos that you can go back to at your leisure, really digest them, marinate, make sure you can teach them back to me. And that's an important concept, right? Have I conveyed this to you and are you able to teach it back to me, right? I want you to say it back to me the way I've said it. So then that way we both know that we're on the same page. But occasionally I will still do training sessions with my team, particularly if we're doing something really important, such as note taking. That might seem really, really trivial, but note taking is paramount to the success of your organization. Psychology teaches us that we can have 150 to 175 meaningful relationships. An enterprise office like Shalansky and Associates, we have hundreds and thousands of people that we service and get to know through centers of influence and clients and business relationships and employees and former clients, right? So we have all of these points of contact and we need a place for all of that information to live. In our office, our CRM is called Infinity. It's a program my brother and I created and it is divine. It gives us all of the little details that we need to know about everyone. It is the brain of our operation. And we tell our team members when they start with us and through their 90-day probation and forever thereafter, if it is not documented, it is not done. It's not because I think you're a liar. It's because it won't matter. If you told me orally you called somebody and it's not documented in the system that you called them and what they talked about, and I have a complaint or a problem, which never happens same week, right? It's going to happen years down the road. I have to go back to that documentation and know that we did what we said we're going to do. And God forbid we escalate this to the point of litigation and I'm standing in front of a judge and explaining what we did. I have to be able to prove that. I just can't say, they told me they did, so I took their word for it. No, it has to be documented. And the better your documents are, just to sound like a compliance officer preaching at you, which I am not, the more protection you have and the more empowerment your team has. So, when we talk about documentation of everything, we're always, using the scare tactic, right? It's easier to keep people out of hell than it is to entice them into heaven. So we're telling you about all of these complaints and litigation and all these problems that you can have, but put those aside. You know those, right? And those are the reasons that you should have all the documentation. But what about professional credibility, right? So this happened to me a few years ago, and I felt like a jack wagon because of this. So I had a client, he's executive at an oil firm. He took a new job with a new company, got an upgrade, the executive position, pay raise, all of this kind of good jazz. All right. Couple months goes by and he sends me employment packet information about his employee stock with the old company. And I said, okay, great. Why don't we use this to do da-da-da-da-da? And by the way, since you've been unhappy with this firm, why don't we go jockey for a higher salary? And the client responds back with, I already did that a few months ago. This is my old employer. I'm now working with a new employer. And in fact, you helped me negotiate that contract. Boom. I felt like such an idiot, right? Well, why? I did so many things wrong here. One, I checked my email on my phone in a terminal at an airport when I'm flying between different business events. Was I being intentional about the work I did? No. Was I just answering things out of one, boredom, and two, fear of missing out to make sure I was catching up on everything? Absolutely. You can call it self-importance, grandiose, whatever you want. That email could have waited 2 days for my dedicated desk day for me to sit down and go over it. Another mistake I made, I didn't pump my damn brakes and check the CRM. If I had checked the CRM, it would have jogged my memory that we had already done this and he was leaving the former oil company for the new oil company. And I wouldn't have looked like a complete idiot or like that I didn't know my client at all because I had so much going on in my head and so many relationships to establish. It is my responsibility to make sure that every client feels like our only client. And the only way that I can do that is making sure my brain dump is inside of Infinity and that my discipline is within so that I pump my brakes so I can deliver massive value on a continued basis without having to look like an idiot because I was unintentional in the work that I was doing when I chose to do it. So that part of it is really important too, right? Your professional integrity. So we talked about the litigation. Again, it's easier to scare people out of hell than it is to entice them into heaven. 2, the professional integrity of not looking like an idiot because you forgot a detail, because you can't remember all the details. You can't. My father's probably the best at this. He remembers so many details about client lives. Still mixes us kids up, but still remembers all these details about client lives. But even him, he's had thousands of relationships. Not every single detail is going to be inside of his brain. And a lot of financial advisors out there, young and old, treat their brain like the brain trust. It's all inside of their head. In fact, we chastise people all the time when they say, where's the financial plan? The financial plan's in your head. It's in the head of the financial advisor. You can run 1,000 different softwares and programs that are not going to take in every accommodation exception because you know your client, and that brain trust is where everything lives. And it is a disservice to your clients to have it only live between your ears. You got to dump it down. We dump it down into infinity. It's a rock star program. The rest of our team is able to pick up. It shows us every, nuance about the client, from how do they like their tea to where are they at with their distributions, how much tax was withheld. It's just genius, right? So we brain dump it. And the next reason I love brain dumping it is because it also empowers the rest of my organization. And when I write my notes, and this is one of the training sessions we just revisited with everyone, why it's so important is because we follow, much like in the healthcare industry, what is referred to as the SOAP format: subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. So anytime that we're doing memorandums out of client meetings, client phone calls, or conversations with centers of influence about a client, we will follow the SOAP format: subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. The subjective stuff, all the feelers, all the details, all the things, right? The objective, actually what is going on, right? In reality, once we scrape away all those feelings. The assessment, just like a diagnosis, right? What needs to happen? And then the plan is, what actions are we going to take? What actions are we going to take as a team? And what actions is the financial advisor going to take? And what action is the client necessary to take? Because a lot of times the responsibility to get things done relies on the client. So we do the SOAP format: subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. And then we post it inside of the Infinity to the client's record. And now, no matter where I'm at, available or unavailable, my team knows exactly what we talked about. They know what the subjective details are. So those are great action items for my relationship managers, and these could be things like, hey, we returned from our vacation, first time in 2 years because we haven't left anywhere because of COVID, and our basement was flooded and we had black mold. We got to make an insurance claim. Can you recommend the best practices you've had other clients go through this experience? Not only were we able to deliver the best practices, like take a video, make sure you document this, but we also, our relationship managers, without me telling them to, saw that and had a hot meal delivered to their house that night and said, hey, no, you got a lot going on. We just make sure dinner's taken care of. We'll get you through this and, we'll come out the other side. They called us the next morning, damn near in tears. They were just so elated and said, thank you so much for that kindness. We hadn't eaten. We were so frustrated. This wasn't, what we expected to come home to. We got a lot of damage. We're just trying to clear it out, but this was just above and beyond. Thank you. So my relationship managers are empowered to spend a certain dollar amount. They got to keep a log because, of course, we have to report everything, and we got to stay below those required compliance minimums. But they are empowered without asking me to deliver a high touch like that. Incredible empowerment by that. And they get really, really creative, which is fun to watch. And I get a lot of gratitude from clients. And sometimes I have to say, whoa, hold on, what happened? And I go back and I check the note. So super helpful as far as that goes. It also tells my operations team, did we talk about in a plan? What's going to happen? What's going to move forward? And so no matter what, when I take my memorandums and I follow that SOAP format, everyone in the whole office can pick it up and know exactly what's happening with the client. Because you, as the financial advisor, what if something happens to you? You get hit by a bus, your train gets delayed, you lose internet access, or you die. Where's that brain trust of information? And how are you going to deliver massive value to your clients when you're not the one in the driver's seat able to do that any longer? So one of the little hacks I tell my team is that whenever you take a note after you've had a conversation with a client or a center of influence or a conversation with another team member about a client, is to, even though it's your note, to write it as if you're writing to another team member, because now your language will change and you'll be more instructive. If you're anything like I am, when I'm writing my own notes, I only need a couple words, right? I keep a legal pad next to my desk of little thoughts that I have to get done for the day, right? And that legal pad just has one or two, I'm looking at it right now, the most is 3 words. And any one line because I know what those triggers are. I know what that means to me. But that doesn't do squat for anyone else. Nobody could come up here and look at my list and know what needs to get done. They don't know how detailed those action items are. So instead, I write my notes when I'm writing as if I'm writing to another team member, as if I'm giving them instructions. And this is really powerful. It's powerful when your team does it too, because now if somebody's out of the office, let's just say that, we were working on a client transfer, we needed a 30-day statement, etc. And the client calls in and says, hey, I need to update my credit card, for your office. Here's the new information. And my relationship manager says, oh, this is great. Oh, and by the way, I see Charnel was trying to reach out to you. We need a 30-day statement. Is that something I can help facilitate right now? Or would you like to speak more in depth, or could I schedule a service meeting, right? So instead of, the relationship manager taking the credit card, ending the phone call, then that afternoon, Charnel calling the client, reaching out, and the client being like, oh, I wonder why your office didn't tell me that. I just called them this morning, right? And we've all had that experience where you call an office and you give them some type of detailed information, and then somebody else from that office calls you back that afternoon, and you're thinking, oh my God, they do not know what's going on over there, right? You're not thinking that that is extraordinary service. You're thinking how foolish or stupid or inefficient or idiotic that they look. Whatever word you're using in your head that maybe isn't nice and you don't want to admit that you're using, but you probably are. So we really want to make sure our team members aren't embarrassed in that fashion, and they're empowered to cross-train and help one another and at least facilitate that need. A person that takes the credit card to update the financial planning fee isn't going to make an account distribution or transfer, but they can facilitate getting it on the schedule or handing it over to the person that is, or telling the client to put it on their radar. So really, really important. So when it comes to team training and how we recruit talent that, either has industry experience or doesn't, we prefer somebody that doesn't have a lot of industry experience. If I am recruiting from a different sector, I'll always look at healthcare as one, because why? Their training is just better than the financial services industry. And a lot of the concepts are intertransferable. Not all of them, but a lot of them are, especially on the compliance and the elderly training and the protection of personal data. Really good ones as far as that goes. And then I will also make sure I'm empowering my team by giving them a format to follow so that they know what those expectations are. In our office, we have a learning management system. We break down each module by financial planner, relationship manager, operations, and ones that the whole team has to know. If we do a compliance update, we throw it up there also. They have to take little knowledge check-ins. Everything is a video with a written format. And then at the end, for the role, if they want to advance into a different role, they have to take the examination and pass it with flying colors in order to be considered for a pay raise or moving into a different position. Then we do occasional trainings in addition to the professional development budget. So we give everyone a professional development budget. Again, they can use this for anything that's going to help them professionally. So this could be an Audible membership. This could be a master class. This could be something at the university. This could be a conference. We get really creative. And if we can't find something that's really attuned to what they need in financial services, we'll start exploring other sectors. Where can we look at industries that are doing something, rip off and deploy and use in our own industry? We get a lot of creative energy looking at other business models and saying, oh, we could do that better. So we look at that for a lot of inspiration. And then also taking the time. Your team's not just going to know how to do these things. You're going to have to empower them. You're going to have to teach them and show them why it's important to do it. So hopefully this gave you a lot of direction, answered a lot of questions I get about, okay, Jamie, where are you hiring these rock stars? I'm not hiring rock stars. I'm making rock stars.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect RIA, the perfect